Ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that you're fine wherever you are. I'm also okay. I want us to talk about the Kasipul by-election and why it is so important to one Gladys Wanga, the governor for Homa Bay County. You see, Kasipul by-election was occasioned by the unfortunate murder of Ongondowere, the late. Ongondowere was the Kasipul MP. Unfortunately, he was mad with a lot of accusation of being behind the murder of several people in Kasipul constituency. And so the relationship between Ongondowere and some members of the Kasipul constituency was not very rosy. It had become frosty at best. And when Ongondowere was unfortunately murdered, the person who was hit the most, the hardest, was none other than Gladys Wanga. And you may be wondering why. Well, of all the 8 MPs in Homa Bay County, none was loyal to Gladys Wanga the way Ongondowere was. And so Gladys Wanga did not just lose one of the MPs from Homa Bay, she lost a confidant and a friend, somebody she could rely and depend on. 2, Kasipul also is a vote-rich constituency. And so if you had somebody from that constituency who was loyal to you, you had a head start for purposes of re-election. So you understand when Ongondowere was murdered, Gladys Wanga was hit the most. But this is where things started becoming very complicated for one Gladys Wanga. In an attempt to replace Ongondowere with his son, Gladys Wanga chose to do one of the most unfair nominations in the history of ODM. Ongondowere's son, Boyd Were, ended up with 13,000 votes, while the runners-up had 3,000 votes. So Gladys Wanga had a scenario where, in a by-election, ODM party could interest as many as close to 20,000 people to go for nomination. And to know that this was not a very normal nomination, almost every person who vied, who participated in this nomination, ended up contest either as an independent or a member of a different political party. It tells you that they didn't have faith in the process of the nomination. But ladies and gentlemen, to give it to Gladys Wanga, whatever she was trying to achieve was not uniquely an invention of our own. In Kenya, it is not abnormal for members of the family to try to replace their deceased leader. In Homa Bay, for instance, when Gerald Otieno, the senator for Homa Bay, died, they went and picked his brother from Uganda, Moses Kajwang, campaigned for him, and he's been the senator of Homa Bay ever since. So this was not something unique that Gladys Wanga was doing. The problem was that she went about it in a manner that I would call emotional. Take a look at Malava. Malava became vacant when Malulu Injendi passed on. And Malulu Injendi was a personal friend of President William Ruto and Prime Cabinet Secretary Honorable Mudavadi. These people wanted, through the actions of their close associates, to have Malulu's son replace his father. The same thing that Gladys Wanga was pulling in Homa Bay. So it was not like she was doing something out of the ordinary. It is something that has been done before. But how did UDA go about it in Malava? Elements within UDA were openly supporting Malulu's son. But the party still went ahead and did very credible nomination. And in that credible nomination, the favorite of the president and the prime cabinet secretary did not win. And so all of them rallied behind Ndakwa, who had won that nomination. That is what you do. Even if you have somebody that you would want to replace a deceased leader or a retiring leader, do it in a way that even those who are going to lose accept that the nomination was fair. When the nomination is openly a sham, but you do it nonetheless, believing that there are no repercussions, chances are that people are going to contest against your candidate. And that is what is happening in Kasipul. Gladys Wanga thought that having forced Boyd Were through that sham nomination, people were going to coil, and thanks to their love for ODM, they were going to rally behind Boyd Were. That never happened because certain people did not even participate in that nomination, just said this is going to be a sham thing. Gladys Wanga, the chairperson of ODM, has been pushing for this candidate. They are now going to conduct a sham nomination. In that sham nomination, they are going to give this guy over 13,000 votes in a by-election, which did not even happen in Ogunja. Ogunja was also an ODM zone, but such numbers are not available in a by-election, especially in a party nomination. But let us leave that behind. Whatever happened, happened, and Boyd Were was declared ODM nominee. And Gladys Wanga has since been campaigning for the boy as if it was a general election. She has made it a do or die case where she tells people that voting for Boyd Were is voting for her and preserving Raila Odinga's legacy, but refusing to vote for Boyd Were, voting for any other person, is insulting Raila Odinga's memories and, of course, an attempt to remove her from power. So she's made this entire thing about Gladys Wanga. The people of Kasipul have been taken to the back seat, and it is now a case of Gladys Wanga trying to have her own wishes. Nothing wrong with that. This is politics, and you have to be ambitious. I have no issue with Gladys Wanga building influence in Homa Bay. That is what politics is all about. You have to be ambitious. But this brings us to the question, what will the result mean to Gladys Wanga? Because she has made it about herself. That is what I want to walk you through, ladies and gentlemen, briefly. If it is a topic that interests you, continue watching. And in case you do find value from our videos, consider subscribing to the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, Gladys Wanga has made the Kasipul by-election about her. And so here is what the results would mean. Should Boyd Were win, Gladys Wanga would achieve three things. One, she would have stamped her authority in Kasipul and gotten herself a loyalist. That is good for her. Two, because of that stamped authority, Gladys Wanga will now have the courage to try and plant candidates throughout Homa Bay. In fact, the leaders who will not be towing the line, Gladys Wanga would be like, I will plant a candidate there and remove you. So winning Kasipul would give her that courage to extend her influence to other constituencies. And three, should Boyd win the election, Gladys Wanga can now up her bargaining power with William Ruto. She can be like, you see, I'm not just your ordinary leader in Homa Bay. I control Homa Bay. I can go to Kasipul, give them a candidate they know nothing about, somebody they've never seen on the ground, and campaign for that person and win. So it tells you that when it comes to my influence as an individual and as ODM chair, I am worth every cent. So if you want to come to Homa Bay, you might have to come through me. So three things: getting a loyalist, expanding our influence, and of course, bargaining power with William Ruto. But should the opposite happen and Boyd Were loses to, let's say, Philip Aroko, then Gladys Wanga would have not just lost a loyalist from Kasipul. It would mean that as an individual, the people of Homa Bay are reconsidering her position as a governor. It will complicate her re-election. Two, it would be a big blow to ODM as a party and, of course, Gladys Wanga as the party chair. Elements within ODM who do not like broad-based government would argue that ODM lost Kasipul because the people were not very happy with the broad-based candidate, that people are not interested in this broad-based government to the point that ODM lost in their own stronghold. And of course, three, William Ruto would be encouraged to now reach Luos without having to go through party or certain politicians. Because if you can lose in your own backyard, if you can lose in what you consider stronghold, then it means these are people that William Ruto can also go and pitch to on his own without necessarily having to go through the bureaucracy of a political party. I hope you found value in this video, ladies and gentlemen. If you did, let me know in the comment section. Also, don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Otherwise, if you want to know what the Mbeere North by-election results would mean to Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto, watch this video.